Hello friends, in this video we will look at the GATE 2021 question paper, and in the subsequent videos I will be recording one video for each question. So first I am focusing on the computer architecture and operating systems questions. So the first question from this subject is question number 3 of the 2021 paper that was conducted last year. And in this question, mainly the concept of interrupt handling in DMA is being used. So the question is that you have to consider the following statements: that there is daisy chaining, vectored input, then there is DMA, and there is a polling method of handling the interrupts. Now, how these methods work, let us discuss that first, and then we will look at the question. So when we come to daisy chaining, in daisy chaining method, the interrupts whatever are rising in the system, there is a priority chain which is maintained, and each device which raises the interrupt has a priority associated with it, and according to its priority the interrupt will be handled. A priority queue is maintained for receiving all the interrupts. Then in the vectored interrupt, the device is going to raise an interrupt, and there is an interrupt handler for the interrupt handling, and that interrupt handler will identify which device is raising the interrupt, and accordingly the corresponding handler for that device will be invoked. So here all the devices can raise the interrupt at any time. Here the priority is associated with each of the devices. Then there is a polling method in which the CPU itself, after a fixed limit of time, it will inquire from each of the devices that whether they require to perform any input output, and if the device will say yes, then that device will be given the time for performing the input output. So in polling, the CPU conducts a voting that which device wants to perform the input output or raise an interrupt, and accordingly the interrupts are handled. So these are the three ways in which the interrupt management or IO management is done inside the operating system. Apart from this, there is a method of DMA. In DMA, the CPU will release its control of the memory, and there will be a direct transfer of data from the device to the main memory. And for this, CPU will initialize how much block of data will be transferred, how many bytes will be allowed to get transferred, and after that much transfer has happened, the control of the memory will again be given back to the CPU. And while this DMA operation is taking place, CPU cannot access the main memory. It can perform other jobs which do not involve the main memory. So that way the transfer of data will become fast, and the data bus will be under the control of the DMA instead of the CPU. So these are the four things that are involved in this question. Now let us look at this question. The question says that daisy chaining is used to assign priorities in attending interrupts. This is correct statement. Then second statement is, when a device raises a vectored interrupt, CPU does polling to identify the source of interrupt. Now this is not correct, because vectored interrupt and polling, both of them, they are different methods. Then the third statement is, in polling, the CPU periodically checks the status bits of the device to know if it needs attention. This statement is correct, because in polling, CPU will ask each of the devices whether they want to perform the input output or not. Then during DMA, both CPU and the DMA controller can be the bus masters. Now this is incorrect, because during the DMA operation, the control of the main memory and the data bus is under the DMA, and the CPU cannot access it. The database is out of the control of the CPU. So only the first and the third statements are correct. So they are asking which of the above are true. So the answer is C, that is 1 and 3 only. So this is how we will answer this question. So in the next video, I will be recording for another question. Thank you very much.